This is the Wealthy Investor Show, where we don't just talk about your wealth, we also talk about your holistic health. I'm your host, Matthias.
And I'm Erica.
And this is the Wealthy Investor.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Investor. This is recorded the day after Father's Day. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about being a dad and what the kids did for me this time, and just, how rewarding it is to be a parent. If you're not, I'm sorry if this is hard for you to hear. I know that could be a difficult thing, but it is my reality. We have 3 kids. We have a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a almost 2-year-old. Next Sunday, he'll turn 2. So we actually had a little bit of a birthday party for the 2-year-old because we're going to be at a little music festival on his birthday. The only time we missed that music festival was because he was born, which was, it was worth it. It was worth it. But my kids gave me some cards and some gifts. My eldest daughter apparently read all the cards, and she found this one and thought it was it's really sweet. It just says, "To the world, you are a dad, but to your family, you are the world." Super, super sweet. She also gave me a potted plant, which I could not find. Very sweet of her. My middle child was attracted to this card for some reason. Everything's poop right now, but a poop card may not be the best card for your Father's Day, but it's a solid number 2. Did a dad joke and all. But even better, she was attracted to a coffee mug for me, and it is my favorite kind of coffee mug because it's got a wide base. I like when there's some sturdiness to my coffee cup because we have dogs and kids that all jump around and knock things over. I'm often on the couch and it can just be a mess. So I do appreciate a good, sturdy coffee cup. Oh, I just sound so old saying that. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so the coffee cup, I think she was attracted to because it's kind of rainbowy. You can see, but it says low-key thriving on it. And I think that is just so me. And so I'm so thankful for that coffee mug. She also gave my dad a bag of mini carrots, baby carrots, for Father's Day. She's funny. But yeah, being a dad is just, it's great. I think it's stressful. A lot of the time it's very chaotic. I think embracing the chaos is a big theme that you just kind of have to get used to. You just kind of have to push through and just like accept that things won't be perfect. Accept that things are going to be a mess, and keep cleaning up, keep going. But if you can just roll with it, it makes it a lot easier. I think if you have really high expectations for whether you want your house really clean, whether you want your evenings very peaceful or mornings very peaceful, it's going to be a bad time. They often wake up, ready for a fight or ready for chaos. And it's still a beautiful thing. Seeing them grow and learn new things is amazing. Seeing how their personalities are there from very, very young and how they just kind of develop with them into being more of who they are. And yeah, just it's interesting. I think I was reminded, somebody was talking about this other day, but our oldest is 7, and it still seems like this, we just had her. She's not that old, but in 2 years, it's going to be halfway through her being in our household. If she leaves at 18 to go to college or whatever, that we're almost halfway done with having her in our house. And it's just crazy how fast time flies. And, we in this podcast here with Jason, we get into, living life like it could be your last day, like having a very intentional life. And I think that, family you can just blink and it can be over with. And so just a constant reminder, if that's a gratitude journal, if that's some sort of habit tracking like I'm doing to kind of focus in on family regularly and making it a priority, it's just so important, because you could be so caught up in, how great things will be in the future if you can just get, more business, you sell more, you get more rentals, you flip more properties. You're just going to be able to do everything that you've always wanted to do, where you could be living your life as you go and enjoying the people around you as you go. We've all heard of the tragedies of, kids dying or whatever. I'm not trying to get too dark here, but it's just good to keep in mind to, appreciate them every moment you can. So I know this isn't going to come out on Father's Day, but that's my little plug for Father's Day. You know, probably 3 weeks after it happened. But this guest, we can get into that now. The guest, Jason, he is currently a realtor in California. He's been an investor. He was in the police force, and he was, you know, decided to get into the real estate world, kind of got into police after college, before wife, and then he got serious. It's amazing how women can kind of make a man serious. At least that's what happened to me. And I know that's a very general statement, so don't cancel me. But that's what happened to me too. And it sounded like this is what happened to Jason is you just kind of start taking life a little bit more seriously. I know Erica, one of her first tasks with me was to make me finish my degree because I walked without actually finishing my degree. I only had a couple credits. I didn't want to do a whole semester for a couple credits. And yeah, she got me to finish that, which I don't use anymore anyway. But yeah, I think we together are. I'm definitely a better person with my wife, and she motivates me. I think the family motivates me to be my best self. I think that if I was just alone, I don't know what would happen. Maybe I would have eventually come to that realization that life needed to be seized, if you will, seize the day. At some point, being, just maturing. Maybe after some maturity, I would have gotten to that point. But I think the wife and the family, living for more than yourself, has a big impact to that. So this has been a very family and relationship and kid oriented intro. But please enjoy Jason, and we will catch you next week on The Wealthy Investor. And we're back with The Wealthy Investor. We're here with Jason D'Amico. Jason, you are a realtor and investor, but you didn't start there. You were a police officer. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, cool. What area are you in?
San Jose, California, so the Bay
Okay.
Area.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, that's a hot market, I would imagine.
Super hot. Yes. Nothing conventional happens here. Nothing kind of national trends you won't really see here. It's kind of its own bubble, like Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
and very competitive, but also really fun to work in.
I could imagine that's also kind of, I mean, do you look at historical trends, data trends, as far as like eh, how have we fared in other recessions or other times like that? Since that you just said it follows a different trend. I mean, that could also be a little bit challenging to work through. I mean, to have any kind of certainty going forward
Mm-hmm.
as
No,
far as
yeah,
sales
100.
go.
Yeah, 100%. I've lived in a few different states, so over my real estate journey, I would see things in different states or different regions of the country that when I would keep in touch with my kind of people back here or what was going on, you just wouldn't see like an even keel. It was more, as opposed to a
Yeah.
national market, it was very more micro markets.
We definitely have a bit of we've been a bit more recession proof here in Virginia, in my area in Virginia, than some other areas. We fared pretty well, but I mean, we definitely still have followed like the overall trend. We know we might just be a little bit above or whatever. So that's interesting. How long have you been in that area?
So born and raised here,
Okay.
so my whole life. I left for college. I did a little stint in the Midwest. And then my family, we did another about a year and a half in the South, so in Tennessee.
Okay.
And then we most recently came back for the past about year or so. So
Okay.
we've been around, kind of seen some different places, and we're ultimately here now.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey getting into real estate, and like what got you started in the law enforcement, and then
Yeah,
what brought you into real estate.
yeah, absolutely. So kind of going back, like I said, born and raised in California. My dad was a cop, believe it or
Okay.
not. So second generation, but I didn't grow up wanting to do that. It wasn't like I'm 3 years old. I saw my dad. I wanted to be a cop. Like nothing like that. It was just that's what he did, and just like it was kind of like a job, like anything else. And looking back and doing it, something I noticed, and I've told him this, is he never brought it home. He never brought anything home. It
Okay.
was, yeah, it was very like he goes to work, comes home at whatever time, and it was just like that's dad. That was it. And then going through, I did just under 12 years as a policeman. And it is a challenging job where if you're not conscious of that and aware, you can bring it home and not always a great thing, especially with the family.
Is that like bringing it home? What do you mean by that? Is that the stress? I mean, like I know you could have trauma in the field. I mean, like what's that all look like?
Yeah, 100%. So a few different things to look at that. So there's a lot of science on physiological stress on the body and what it does. So if you
Hmm.
can imagine just driving around in a car, you're just driving in a beautiful neighborhood, it's sunny, you're pretty stagnant as far as like heart rate and all that kind of stuff. And then you'll hear something on the radio, and then your heart rate and everything will spike
Okay.
like significantly. And cortisol and all those hormones will start being released, but you're just driving. And then you go from just this like you're always kind of in a heightened state like of
Mm.
alertness. But as you're just driving along, something hits up and boom, you're here. Now you're super elevated. You respond to whatever you're responding to, handle that, and then you'll drop back down. And that can happen like 10, 12 times a day.
Oh, that's really fascinating. So, like, I mean, it could be. I would imagine no matter what the call is, there's some sort of response. I mean, like, it doesn't have to be like an active shooter or something
Oh,
really crazy,
100%.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And you're trained to, doesn't matter what you're going to, anything can switch or turn, a different route extremely quickly. So you're always going into everything, unfortunately, like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen here? And just being safe and all that kind of stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Just not to get into this too deep, but like, what strategies are there to kind of help combat that, or to deregulate, or how do you
Yeah.
handle?
Yeah. So my dad's day, so he's like early 1970s cop. There wasn't a lot, like I said, not a lot of science behind that. It was very like taboo to talk about it, taboo to even like any of that. It was just like you
Your
deal with
man?
it, man. And yeah, but that was just the times. Now with like just with science and like a lot of it kind of comes from like the military and then it kind of trickles down. Hey, what happens to the body and all these kind of things, and how do we combat that? The biggest thing they gave us was fitness
Mm.
was something that can help flush out, because you'll like I said, your heart rate will spike, all these hormones will dump into your bloodstream, and the best way to kind of scrub that out or get rid of it was exercise. So they would
After the shift,
ap-
or
uh,
ideally?
ideally, that doesn't like always happen. So just kind of period. So like I was always a before shift kind of guy because you can't really count on that. But if ideally in a perfect world, yes, like 20 minutes after you're done, before you go home, to kind of flush out the system, and that was something that can kind of, because if you think if here's baseline and you're here most of the day, to get back, like it takes a while to get back down, and sometimes it can take a couple days to even like re-regulate, and then you're going back. So yeah, fitness was the biggest thing they pushed on us.
That makes complete sense to me. Just being in real estate, like I can have stressful days, of course. I mean, we can be, going crazy in a day, and definitely my favorite time to work out would be kind of the way to end my day, because I feel like I come home, I'm with my kids, I'm just, yeah, regulated. I'm back to kind of like a really good level, and so that's. I know I'm not facing the same kind of situations in real
No,
estate,
but no, but
and it's
I mean, yeah, I do it. It is, I mean, everything I've heard, like you're a therapist, you're a life coach, you're a financial planner, like all that kind of stuff is the truest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's true. But it's such a great strategy. I mean, I think I have a ton of like, I think we just need exercise, right? We need like to put ourselves through some sort of hardship. I think we need our like to, push our bodies, right? Because if everything is designed to make things easier, like we want a more comfortable car. We want a car that we want a garage so we don't have to get in the heat or the snow, in between walking to our house that's climate controlled to the car. So I mean, I feel like cold exposure, saunas, hard exercise are all things that like we try to avoid in our society, but it's really what makes our brains right. It makes our mental health right.
100%.
But so now let's get into real estate. So you decided to get into real estate then
Yeah.
after that?
So like I said, go through college, kind of athlete, very just kind of focused on that all through. I was blessed to get a scholarship. That's how I ended up out in the Midwest playing football.
Okay.
I get to maybe my junior year, and now I'm starting to see, okay, I'm about to graduate. Should probably think about what I'm going to do after this, because up until that point, I'm just like playing ball. I'm going to get a degree, and that's really it. Um, So very simplified. I go on a ride along with one of my buddies, and not all ride alongs are created equal. Where you go jump in with a cop for the shift, and mine was just off the hook. I had so much fun. I was like instantly like, all right, I'm doing this because this is team sport. It's very team oriented. You're outside challenging all the things. So I do that. Start when I'm like 24.
Okay.
So again, I'm young, I'm single, I'm straight out of college. I don't even look at my paycheck. I'm just like, yeah, it's coming in, pension, because you pay into your pension, stuff like that. I don't even think about that. It's just like I'm having so much fun every day. I don't think about my finance. I just know like, hey, I have enough to come in every day or come in every month. And that's really it.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Same after college for me.
Yeah. But then, as you get older, you get married. There's a time where, okay, I need to start thinking about, you're responsible. You're thinking about someone more than yourself, essentially.
Right.
So now fast forward a few years. Oh, so my first real estate deal is I leave for college. I come back, police academy, all the things. My mom, God bless her, wouldn't let me rent an apartment with my friends. She's like, no. You stay here. You save up for a down payment. And you buy something, and then you go live in that, and that's what you're gonna do, essentially.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I did that. I saved up 60 grand, bought a $300,000 condo, little 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 700 square feet, and I moved into it. And that was probably 2015 or so. And so moved into that. And again, now that I'm just doing my thing, going to work, paying the bills, that's it. So meet my wife. She moves in with me. And we have like I remember this moment like vividly, like, because we were talking about the future, we're talking about getting married, all these things. And I'm like, in that world, unfortunately, it is capped. Like you can only work so many hours in the day, and you can only make so much money.
Sure.
So when we were talking about like our future and how we're going to make more money, I just remembered talking to her one day, and I'm probably 26 or something like that. And I'm like, hey, should we try and like make more money, and like maybe we'll live here in the big house, and like kind of all like the more material things that were just like fun to talk about. And she's like, well, how are you going to do that? I go, I don't know, but figure it out. Do you want to go? Let's go for it. And so at that point, I start like diving down like more personal development, books, podcasts, like that kind of. That's where my mind's kind of starting to switch, as opposed to just me having fun and doing my thing every night. At how do I help create this big life for my family?
Yeah.
So kind of keep pushing. Start reading some books. And I knew I liked real estate. I'm like, okay, like. My grandpa's got a kind of cool story. My grandpa came over from Italian heritage, came over from Italy, kind of like, mid like 1950s ish, on the boat, like that whole thing. And essentially we had a family farm in town, which we live in a big city now, but back in the day it was a farm. And slowly over time, he developed that farm into first a grocery store, then a butcher shop. And then today it's a shopping center. It's like a 12-unit shopping center with a Chevron and a 7-Eleven. And so I'm like, okay, like my grandpa's inspiring figure in my life. I have this condo, the real estate, that shopping center still in the family. Okay. A couple generations later, he's since passed. Okay. I'm going to go down like the real estate route. I think that'd be cool. And so I started learning about that.
Was there a pivotal book or a podcast you listened to that really pushed you further down that rabbit hole?
100%. So at the same time, I'm just kind of reading everything. I wasn't a big reader growing up, but I had some friends that were into it. And so actually the first book I read was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Hey, that's me. That's so started. Yes.
Yes. So that was the first, but that was more for work. I was like, okay, like I need to learn, like be a better communicator and all those kind of things. So that was the first book I read. And I'm like, okay, I can apply this to my life and use this at work. And so I was like, this information is in a book for $10 or whatever.
What else can you learn, right?
What else can you learn? So the next one, just classic, was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Came across the desk, and that one was like blew my mind. I never thought about anything like that or that kind of way of thinking. And yeah, that was probably the biggest one to change the way I thought and kind of how we did things going forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, there's my wife and I joke about it all the time, but I want to give How to Win Friends and Influence People, that book, to people. I just randomly show up in their mailbox.
Here, this will help you. I promise. It's so true.
I don't mean to be offensive here, but you could use this.
There's some things you can learn, my friend. Oh, 100%.
Because it impacted me so much. I mean, I come from German descent. I lived in Germany for a year. It's a very combative kind of conversation culture, and so like I think avoiding the sharp angle, that kind of stuff, just things that I really needed to practice and got a lot better at minor relationship skills. So it's a great book. And then I don't know how many times the Rich Dad Poor Dad has come up on this podcast, like whether or not it's the one that the people like say I need to. That's my favorite one. Almost everybody said that was probably the one that got me started.
Yeah, it's wild. And I knew guys that read it like early 2000s or late 90s whenever it came out, and I didn't stumble across it till probably like 2016, 2017, something like that.
Yeah. Same, but awesome. So, you're reading the books, listening to the podcasts. Do you just jump right in, or where do you do?
So I jump in. So at this time, we lived in the condo for probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. We were able to save enough to buy another place. So now I have a rental, which is the condo I originally bought, and then our primary house, which is like a 3-2, 2,000 square feet, like normal single family house. And so I'm like, okay, like kind of looking at the condo, like what I bought it for, what it's worth, what we could sell it for, things like that. And I'm looking at the house, this, and I'm like, oh, I stumble across Grant Cardone as well. And he's talking, because renting a house, like for me growing up was just like something we didn't do. It was just like, no, you like save up, you buy a house, and that's kind of it.
Right.
So I heard him talk about renting and investing and this and that, especially like, at a younger age. So I'm like, what if I sold my house? I sold the condo, we rent a house, and then all that money I was going to get from it, we invested.
And were you wife at the time or girlfriend?
Married, yes, wife at the time.
What do you think about
that? God bless her, she's the most supportive human, ever, and I would be nowhere without her. She's my rock, 100%. And just like I've come to her with a lot of ideas over the years, and it's always like, yeah, sounds good, let's do it. Always. Never have to like persuade or convince or anything like that. It's just like kind of like give my speech and okay, let's do it. She does have some conditions sometimes.
Sure.
So for that one, I literally go to her one day. I said, hey, thoughts on selling everything, renting, and then investing our money. And we were living a little like kind of like in a suburb of San Jose, like a smaller city, just like 20 minutes away. And there's a nicer, like kind of more affluent area that we've always really liked. It's called Los Gatos. And she's like, okay, I'm down, but we have to move to Los Gatos if we're going to rent. And I was like, all right, deal. So we essentially sell everything. I do a 1031 exchange on the rental.
Yeah.
And so we sell our primary, we get into a rental, then we go ahead with the rental or with the condo, start the exchange process, and then start looking for. So at the time I was looking for an apartment building. So I kind of did some math. I'm like, okay, like I can sell the house for this. I can exchange some money on my investment, my rental here. And I could probably buy like a 16, maybe 18 unit Texas, Florida, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that was my plan.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, was it going to overall cash flow better than what situation you were in?
Oh, 100%. I'm cash flowing like $200 a month on this rental, which is cool. Like I ended up doubling my money. I bought it for $300. We sold it for just under $600 in probably 4 years.
Okay.
So Yeah. So, and a couple $100, I didn't spend, that just went to, maintenance and whatever.
Right.
And then I'm kind of looking at some, apartments. I'm like, all right, we could probably get in a couple $1,000s a month, conservatively kind of range, maybe $3,000-4,000 a month cash flow. Like, that's cool. It'll essentially pay for our rent. And that was, start like rich dad, poor dad, start having it all pay for your bills.
Right. Right.
So I'm sure, as you know, there's a time clock on an exchange, 45
Yeah.
days. So we get into that. I start making offers on, we go out to Reno, Nevada. We look at like a 10 unit out there. I make an offer on like a 16 unit in Dallas. I make an offer on like an 18 unit in like just north of Tampa. And this is like 2021, like early 2021.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So COVID, market's hot. Things are just going way over.
Yeah.
And we keep getting beat. But it was a good learning lesson because I learned kind of like the commercial game, and it's very different than the single family game. You get financing later. There's long due diligence periods, things like that.
Yeah.
So we get to, I don't know, day 40 of 45, and I haven't found anything. And in hindsight, like if we didn't get the exchange, like what happens? We pay some taxes and we move on. Like, but I had this like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to move this money.
Yeah.
And so I meet my now teammate. His name's Aaron Durbacher, and we essentially, he's a family friend, and we were going to all these weddings together. So like I'm seeing the same guy at these weddings. He's a realtor. He's very like networking. He's just always working the crowd, and like he's a very likable guy. And I'm like, oh yeah, Aaron. He's a realtor. We see him in all these weddings. Let me call him. So I get his number. I'm like, hey, dude, I'm 5 days out. I need some help. He's like, what are you doing? Tells me all these things. And he's like, okay, I'll call you back. Calls me back like 2 hours later. He goes, meet me at this address, which was, in San Jose. And we pull up, and it's like grandma's house. It's like dumpy, distressed, like original condition, pink tile, grandma's house.
Yeah.
He's like, we're going to flip this thing. And I go, we're going to do what? He goes, we're going to flip this house. So we'll move the money here. We'll flip it. And then you want to hold it as a rental. You want to sell it later. Airbnb, like we'll figure out that later. But, we'll figure out the extra later. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to flip a house. And he's like, I got the contractors. I got the lenders. I got all this stuff. Just do what I tell you to do. And just, blind faith. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
That's awesome. Does that work out?
It works out great.
Yeah.
So wife's super involved. She was able to, she just designed the whole thing.
Cool.
So she's up on Instagram all night. Like, I want to do this kitchen. And I want to do that bathroom and this and that. And I just managed like the boys and the contractors and all that kind of stuff. And we had a ton of fun. I'm bringing them lunch, once a week. And yeah. And that ended up
How fast did it go? The flip?
45 days was about what it took. So
good.
Got in real cosmetic. So just like bathrooms, kitchen, bedrooms, all those kind of things. And then got it out.
Yeah. What kind of profit did you get on that?
So we bought that one for 1.3 and sold it for 1.8.
Okay.
And put about 150 into it.
Okay.
So we did really well.
That's awesome.
In a really quick amount of time.
Yeah, those are different numbers than around here. Grandma's house would not sell for that.
Grandma's house? Like 1,800 square feet? Wild.
1.3 million, right?
That's what you're saying? That's to get in. That was to get in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's like maybe 250, depending here.
Wild. Yeah, super. Yeah, no. And again, I've lived in different states. I've lived in Tennessee. I've lived in Kansas. It's just different.
Our median sales price is about 350. What's were you all at?
I think we just hit 2 million.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
And the cash to play with that game, like the cash you'd have to have, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, wild. Yeah. So like I said, it's just a different market. It is just there's a lot of tech money here, a lot of tech guys here that do really well.
Sure.
Not to get too far ahead, but majority of my open houses now, the first person that walks in works in NVIDIA. Every single time. Hey, what's up? What's your name? You work around here? Oh, I work in NVIDIA. I'm like, yeah, you do.
AI helped them get in a little bit faster.
Yeah. Those guys are all buying houses right now. God bless them. Like, So
Yeah, they're doing well. So, okay. So is that around that time you got your license, or is that like, was the writing on the wall at that point? It's like, this is what I need to do. Were you
uh
still a law enforcement officer at that point, or?
yeah, so I'm still a cop. So I'm still working, so I'm still working as a cop, and then on the side we're doing these flips. So
Yep.
I kind of catch that bug. We end up doing 4 more the next essentially like year or so.
Mhm.
And those all go well. Not that was like our biggest one. Was the first one.
It's always nice when that works that out that way.
I was like, this is
Yeah.
I'm so good at this. Like,
Same thing happened to me. Yep.
so we do a few more, we do well, and then the first rate hike hits, whatever that was, like May 2022 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're in one at the time. We're about a week out from listing it, and the first rate hike hits, and we were very used to goes live on a Thursday. We'll do open houses that weekend. Tuesday or Wednesday of the following week, we'll do an offer deadline and 8 offers, and then boom, it's done.
Yep.
But we were very used to that. So same strategy. The first rate hike hits, offer due date comes, no offers, 0. I'm like, uh-oh. And we have hard money at the time and interest only loans. And at the time, like, no way is that house going to rent for my monthly payments.
What you need. Yeah.
So we're a little nervous, but no big deal. It ends up selling within a week, thank God. And we get out of that one. But it left me a little like, okay, maybe this is cyclical flipping. Maybe, I need to kind of learn some more. And, because I'm not, it's such a small scale. We're just doing one at a time. So maybe I need to kind of pivot into a different strategy when the market kind of does things like that.
Sure.
And at that time, I learned what wholesaling is.
Okay.
So I go down that route for another year.
Okay.
Yeah. So
was that successful? I mean, that can be a hard thing to get into. It's so often the thing that people want to get into at the beginning, but they don't realize it's not easy.
No, 100%. Yeah, no. So I did it backwards. So I start flipping and then I start wholesaling, because it's usually the other way around.
Right. Right.
So kind of just how I am, I'm like, okay, I don't know what I don't know. I'm very, how do I say this? Kind of humble in, you're the expert. I'm going to like get close to you and figure and listen to you. So I learned what wholesaling is, and I'm like, okay, let me find a coach, or like a mentor or something.
Yeah.
And just how, God works in mysterious ways. This guy just keeps popping up on like my Instagram and my YouTube, and then I'm watching A&E, and he's got a show on A&E. And I don't know if you know Jamil Damji.
Oh, heard of him, but yeah, not well.
So he's an investor out of Arizona, also has a show on A&E. He has a coaching or a community, shall I say, and a mentorship program. And just kind of like, it just keeps kind of popping up. It's essentially a wholesaling investing group that you coaching, community, kind of all the things. And, again, go to and they're not cheap, it's several thousand dollars, but it's, lifetime, access and all that kind of stuff. And I go to my wife and I'm like, hey, it's like going to college. Like, hey, can I spend a little bit of money and, join this thing? She's like, yeah, 100%. So yeah. And that, that's essentially what changed my life. Was I go down we stop flipping. I go, it comes with a course, weekly calls. You jump on a call with Jamil and you're just like me and you, like, hey dude, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to do. Hey, I suggest this. I'm in this deal. It's getting weird. Help a brother out. And that guy will go 5 hours on a coaching call with like 2 breaks. And the biggest thing with him is, if you're talking, he is like, you're the only thing in the world. Like, the focus that guy will give you and the, decades of experience that he has is unbelievable.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So
is he doing stuff with Pace now? Is that the same guy?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, his community calls Astro Flipping was the group. So it has that model like we talked about. So it has like, hey, kind of start as a wholesaler, build some capital, Get
Right.
into flips. There's a whole, how to comp, how to do all these things. And then essentially it's like your buy and holds, creative finance, like that kind of stuff.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, let me just start like wholesaling some deals and see kind of how that works. And I'm doing it virtually. So I'm living in California. I'm anticipating the move to Tennessee. So I get with a guy that is in the community. He's a local realtor in Nashville, and kind of like, hey, this is, you want to kind of want to team up and like kind of do deals together. And, nothing like formal partnership, but just like deal by deal basis kind of thing.
Sure.
And he was already experienced. He's like, yeah, dude, I'll just kind of show you how we do things out here, and let's do some deals. And so I think we do like 25 deals last year together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was all through. We had some like bigger months, some slower months, but I think our biggest month maybe did 6 deals in a month, and then kind of
Great.
average was 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that people definitely need to understand too, is like that's such a shortcut, is to get coaching, to get some sort of like mentorship. When I got into real estate sales, teaming up with people or helping a top producer as much as I could. I was never salaried or anything like that, but that just like do what they do. You know what
That's
I
it.
mean?
Yes.
Like, they figured it out. They're doing well. They're killing it in your market. There's a reason for that. So like, that's invaluable. And in my circumstance, I was getting paid to do hourly work and help this, person who couldn't do everything.
Mhm.
And I mean, but it's to pay somebody to learn that kind of stuff it can definitely be worth it. So that's cool. It's a great life lesson for anybody looking to get into it.
100%.
I would say, I just want real quick, and I would curious about your thoughts. If you're an active realtor, like, would you wholesale in that same market?
100%.
Do you think there's like, for me, it feels like there's a little bit of could be a conflict. Explain to me why not, and why you would.
Well, so why I would say was essentially the model was you would represent yourself. You're the investor. So you're the
Hmm.
principal, and then you're going to represent your company, your LLC, on the transaction.
Okay.
So, and I think we get very like stuck in exit strategies. Like, hey, this is how you do things. It's very traditional, and anything else is just kind of, because I do get it. It is kind of, it's just different. It's a little unorthodox if you haven't kind of gone down that route. But if you're able to perform at the end of the day and close the deal, I think that's kind
Right.
of all that
And
matters.
it's a win for the
Yeah.
for the sellers. Yeah, I think that maybe it's also different depending on the market. Like, I think that in my market, we're small enough that it could cause a little bit of confusion as to what you're actually doing, if you're a realtor or if you're an investor, or and reputation and that kind of stuff. If somebody ever felt like, not that anybody's trying to take advantage of anybody, but like if ever that was spun a different way. But
Well,
yeah, okay.
I think it's a mindset shift. It's, every book those people are probably reading is like, you don't need money to get into real estate, right? You don't need your own money, because
Right.
private money, you can raise money, all the things. Um, and it's just essentially putting your investor hat on. It's like, okay, because kind of the model that was taught to me is, if you're gonna learn how to comp first and determine value. So yeah, because I think that's where you get into if you're out there like locking up deals like way over where it's supposed to be, and you don't really know what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I think that's where it cannot be good. But
I guess let me just say it out, say what I'm thinking about
yeah.
it. Like, so let's say if you're getting a wholesale deal under contract as a wholesaler, that deal would probably net the seller more if it was on the open market. I know that not always it can't always perform, or they don't always have the luxury of waiting that long or doing everything it needs to get on the market.
Mhm.
But that's where I think there's a conflict. I think there could be a conflict for a realtor who is actively pursuing or actively representing their client's best interests, if they then wholesale a deal at under market value when they could list it and get market value for it, or closer. If it needs a lot of work, their circumstances, it would probably still sell for more on the open market. That's where I'm like, I don't know if mixing those two, if you're really serious about being a realtor, is wise in your own market, especially.
Sure. But I guess I mean I would ask you, like, how many investors do you come across that are like, don't send me on market deals. I only want to look at off market deals.
No, I mean that, yeah, definitely there's
Yeah.
people that want both. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole, at least like kind of where I'm at. There's a whole pool of that where they're just like, I won't even look at it if it's on the market. You said it to me for this. So I
I see
don't,
what you're saying.
yeah. So I don't know. So now are you, and these are houses that, need cash solutions. They're usually not financeable. There's no bank's going to touch it because, whatever. So you do need your cash solution.
Yeah, and there's a special, yeah, there's definitely a special, like it does take a special niche too, and there's definitely value in the wholesaler finding or having those list of investors to sell to and be able to perform in 2 weeks if needed, et cetera. So that, don't get me wrong, I get it, but I think that it could get a bit murky if you're really serious. I mean, if you're an investor first, that's your priority, and
Yeah,
you have a license to help you do your deals or whatever a little bit on the side, I think that's different than like being like, really you're a realtor. That I think it's something to be cautious about. That's
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Because we'll go in, on our own deals, our own flips. It's like, hey, we'll get it under contract, small due diligence, 3-4 days. We'll go in there and the foundation's just trashed. And like, hey, not something we want to take on. So do we cancel with the realtor or do we assign this over to one of our investor buddies and we close the deal? It's over.
yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That definitely. And again, like there's often time. I mean, like those people that are often desperate to sell, they have some real need
Yeah.
to get this product moved, and it's you know it's you take on a lot of risk as an investor to taking on these projects, and so like there's got to be meat on the bone to make it worthwhile. Nobody's gonna do the flip, put all the money in, take all the risk, and then it's just gonna be like what they have in it is what it's worth. That doesn't make sense.
100%.
And I think that's you got to be clear to the person that's selling that's just the reality of it. Like you're in this situation, I'm sorry, and this is the best option we can give you because nobody's going to take it on, take all the risk for free, essentially.
Yeah. 100%.
Cool. Yeah. So that's, are you actively selling residential as well as a realtor, or are you primarily focused on doing deals as an investor?
Yeah.
How's that play out for you?
Yeah. So essentially, like timing wise, how it worked out, where we're back in California, December of this last year. And I'm kind of going through, well, let me kind of back up a little bit. So that same realtor that brought me grandma's house way back when, he's on a team here in the Bay Area, like 4 guys, 2 bosses, and a great admin staff of, transaction coordinators and project managers and just an awesome team. So he's kind of seeing what I'm doing. Like, he's like, okay, you're wholesaling this and that. My wife has a business that was out here that's going really, really well. So we're like, okay, does it make more sense for us to be in California kind of for that? I'm a little more virtual, so I can kind of work wherever. And he's like, hey, if you're, coming back, check out getting your license, check out the brokerage. We have a great team, just kind of like that whole thing. So I do what I do best and I go on a ride along. So I'm like, hey, dude, let me ride with you for a week and see what it's like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so there's like the main brokerage and then the team. I'm on the team now, but at the time they're off site. They have their own office, like away from the brokerage. Then we do go to the brokerage for like sales meetings and stuff like that. And like I said, just the team is awesome. Like social media manager, tons of admin staff, transaction coordinators, like I said. So like it's such a like team effort on every deal.
Okay, cool.
Handyman, contractors, like all the things. And the bosses are great. Like good leaders that, I look up to and like want to be taught from and led from, led by, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'll get my license and we'll make the move back. So yeah, so it works out where December of this last year, I'm kind of going through the courses and all that, take my test in January, like end of January, and then jump on into the brokerage kind of late January. And then just like you said, my realtor, my teammate now, he's, the number 2 realtor in our brokerage and one of the top guys around. So I'm like, just gonna, and so good to me, just like, every, kind of supportive way to make my transition and my, my time there like really, really successful. So just been focusing on the retail side now, kind of learning that game.
Yeah,
But
sure.
yeah, but do want to get back into the investment world.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's almost a fundamental law. Like, I can't say that for sure, but like what I was trying to get at is that the generosity, the abundance that sounds like this guy has for, he's not scared that you're going to come take over his business.
No,
That just seems to overflow and cause people to be the top producers, like to be the successful people, and people are attracted to it. And I think there's a couple reasons for it. I think one, when you're learning, if you're just intimidated and threatened by everybody that's ahead of you, and you're just like nagging them, tearing them down because you're threatened by them, you're never going to learn anything from them. They're never going to want to be around you. They're not going to want to help you at all. So having that abundant mindset, I think, really is key to getting ahead in this world. I mean, it doesn't have to be in investing in real estate. I feel like that's just a fundamental truth.
100%.
But yeah, so would you still say that the Rich Dad, or which book would you say is your current favorite? And would you put one of those as your top, or do you have any others?
So I go through phases and kind of like, okay, I really like this guy for a while. So Kiyosaki's, I kind of went through a bunch of his books and I'm like, oh yeah, just kind of devouring all that kind of stuff. You know what I really like these days is Patrick Bet-David. You know who he
I'm
is?
not familiar.
Oh my Lord. You're going to love this.
All right.
Patrick Bet-David.
What's he write?
He writes, first one's called Your Next 5 Moves.
Okay.
So it's it's business kind of based book, but it's got a lot of life into it. Essentially, he kind of compares life and business to like the game of chess. And
Okay.
grandmaster chess players know their next, I think it's 15 moves in advance.
Right.
He kind of like, we break it down to your next 5 moves, but yeah, it's like essentially like blending life and business and being strategic through, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
That's
Fantastic.
right up my alley. Yeah. I love it. I love it because that's exactly what I've been all about, is similar, like a vivid vision for your life, for your business and everything.
Nope.
All right, dog bark interruption there.
I guess.
I guess it's not going to end. Come on, stop it. Well, I was just saying that the whole like vivid vision thing, it's a similar concept where you're basically just kind of looking to the future, where you want to be in 5 years, where you want to be in 3 years, and kind of what steps there are to get there, and breaking that down. And I feel like that's like it seems like a lot of work. Like, and this may not be exactly what he talks about, but it seems like a lot of work when you just look at it. But it's just intentional living. Like, it's just like, we are here. We don't know how long we're here for, and if we're just focused on our business to start, but we might miss out on our kids growing up, or we might miss out on our family, or we might get divorced. Like, it's like it. If you want a great life, it takes work. I mean, you got to be intentional about it.
And I think a lot of people, or I think it's very easy to get caught up, just like you said, your day to day, your job or your business, your family, your kids, and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. But if you don't take the time to think about, hey, where am I at now? Where do I want to go? Do I want to go like way farther? Where does my potential end? Have I reached my potential? Probably not. And how can I get there and see like where my potential is? So
Yeah, and it's not that you have to like strive to be a billionaire, or like strive to want to live in Hawaii, or somewhere
yeah.
really cool. Like, it's can be different for everybody, but like, I think if you're not intentionally pursuing your life, then it's gonna get by. It's gonna go by you.
Yeah.
Classic. Hey, you ever get into stoicism?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I haven't read a lot of books on that, but I'm kind of familiar. I think with the concept and stuff.
Yeah, just the memento mori, like, remember you too will die. It's like such a like dark thing,
Yeah.
but it's so true. Like, live your life like you don't know when it's gonna end. So
100%.
social media, is there a great place to where are you at? Where do you want people to follow you if they want to reach out, or just
Yeah.
follow?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram's probably the best platform for me. It's Jason Benassi D'Amico. So it's my first and last name, and then middle name's Benassi.
Okay, and we'll link that so people can find you there.
Cool.
Yeah, no, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
we will have to keep in touch, and wish you the best success with the new team,
Yeah.
and the investing from here on out.
Absolutely. Well, really appreciate you having me. And again, anytime, would love to get on and chat again.
Cool. Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Investor Podcast, where we talk about wealth and holistic health. If you enjoy our content, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to hear new episodes every Thursday. If you really like our content, you can follow us on social media at The Wealthy Investor, wealthy spelled W-E-L-L-T-H-Y.